Was Abraham a real person? Or is he just a story told around ancient campfires? And if he was real, why has one wandering shepherd become one of the most influential figures in human history? Well, today we're exploring one of the greatest mysteries in the Bible. Not just whether Abraham existed, but why Judaism remembers him the way it does. Because here's the surprising thing. Even if archaeology hasn't yet uncovered a plaque reading, "Abraham slept here," later Jewish tradition has never regarded Abraham just as an ancient historical figure. He's something a lot greater. He's the beginning of an idea. You know, the book of Genesis introduces Abraham with remarkable simplicity.
God said to Abram, "Go forth from your native land and from your father's house to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you shall be a blessing."
No genealogy stretching back through kings. No military conquests to speak of. No royal inscriptions. Nothing like that. Just a simple direction. Leave. Leave, he's told. In other words, travel. Get out of here. And above all, trust. This alone makes Abraham rather unusual among ancient Near Eastern heroes. The biblical narrative places him somewhere around the early second millennium before the Common Era, though scholars disagree by several centuries. Traditional chronologies generally place him around 2000 BCE, while others prefer dates in the 19th or 18th centuries BCE. But can archaeology confirm any of this? Well, not directly. There just isn't any inscription saying "property of Abraham, son of Terach." There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. Nor should we necessarily expect one. Abraham, according to Genesis, wasn't an emperor. He wasn't a pharaoh. He wasn't building pyramids or conquering empires. He was, at least initially, a wealthy pastoral chieftain moving with flocks across Canaan. Those people rarely leave monuments behind. Now, does Genesis sound historically authentic at all? Surprisingly, many scholars, even skeptical ones, acknowledge that Genesis preserves details fitting the Middle Bronze Age. And it does that pretty well. For example, Abraham negotiates for burial land. He travels with large pastoral herds. He enters treaties with local rulers. The cities mentioned, Shechem, Hebron, Bethel, those were thriving settlements during this period. Genesis also describes social customs remarkably consistent with second millennium law collections. Take Sarah giving Hagar, her handmaiden, to Abraham. Modern readers find this disturbing, yet texts from Nuzi and elsewhere describe similar surrogate arrangements. Likewise, Abraham's concern over inheritance fits ancient legal customs. None of this proves that Abraham existed, but it does suggest that Genesis reflects a world remembered with considerable realism. As archaeologist Kenneth Kitchen famously argued, the patriarchal narratives fit comfortably within the framework of the early second millennium. Of course, not everybody agrees with Kitchen. Scholars such as Thomas L. Thompson and John Van Seters argue that these narratives were composed much later and project later traditions backward into the past. And that debate remains vigorous. And people often think about all of this and they say, well, we've never really found Abraham, have we? Well, that's true. We have not really found Abraham. But archaeology usually can't identify ordinary individuals from nearly 4,000 years ago. And just think about this. Millions lived during Egypt's Middle Kingdom, but only a tiny fraction appear in inscriptions. Think about that. If Abraham really was a semi-nomadic clan leader, well, we'd expect almost no archaeological footprint. Absence of evidence is not necessarily evidence of absence. And then there's the name Abraham, Avraham in Hebrew. The name itself is pretty interesting. Originally, according to the biblical text, he's called Abram or Avram in Hebrew.
And you shall no longer be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham. For I make you the father of a multitude of nations. I will make you exceedingly fertile, and make nations of you, and kings shall come forth from you.
The Hebrew explains Abraham as Av Hamon Goyim, which means the father of many nations. Whether this is historical linguistics or theological wordplay hardly matters. Genesis transforms his identity. He ceases belonging to just one family. He becomes ancestor of countless peoples. This is nothing less than a revolution in human religion. Maybe Abraham's greatest historical significance lies elsewhere. See, the ancient world worshipped many gods. Every city had its own deity. Every mountain had its divine patron. Genesis presents Abraham hearing one universal God. That's astounding. We should never take that for granted. One universal God. In the ancient world, it was revolutionary. Listen carefully.
I will bless those who bless you, and curse the one who curses you, and all the families of the earth shall bless themselves by you.
Notice what God does not say. He doesn't say, I'll bless only your tribe. No. Instead, he says something else. All the families of the earth. Not some of them, all of them. All the families of the earth. From the very beginning, Abraham's story points outward. It points outward. Jewish chosenness is never presented as privilege alone. Not by any means. It's responsibility. We shouldn't misunderstand this. Privilege is responsibility. Now we leave history behind and enter the Jewish imagination. The rabbis were never satisfied with the silences of Genesis. How did Abraham discover God? Genesis never tells us. So the rabbis just filled in the story. One famous Midrash tells of Abraham working in his father Terah's idol shop. One day, Terah leaves. Abraham smashes every idol except the largest one. He places the hammer into the biggest idol's hands. When Terah returns in horror, Abraham explains, well, the idols fought among themselves. Terah objects. He says, well, they can't fight, they're only stone. To which Abraham replies, then why worship them? Brilliant, just brilliant. The story appears in Genesis Rabbah 38. Whether it's historical, well, that we can't say. Probably not. But profoundly Jewish? Absolutely. It teaches that truth begins by questioning assumptions. Another beautiful Midrash expands Genesis 15.
Then in the vision God took him outside and said, "Look toward heaven and count the stars, if you are able to count them. So shall your offspring be."
The rabbis imagine something extraordinary. God lifts Abraham above the stars themselves. Abraham sees astrology from the outside. He had believed the heavens determined fate. But God shows him that Israel is not imprisoned by the stars. The Talmud famously summarizes it, "En mazal leYisrael, en mazal leYisrael."
Rabbi Yohanan said, "There is no constellation for the Jewish people that influences them. The Jewish people are not subject to the influence of astrology." And Rabbi Yohanan follows his own reasoning, saying, "From where is it derived that there is no constellation for the Jewish people? As the prophet Jeremiah stated, 'Thus said the Lord, learn not the way of the nations, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the nations are dismayed at them.' The nations will be dismayed by them, but not the Jewish people."
This doesn't reject astronomy. It rejects fatalism. Destiny can be transformed. Now, Jewish tradition remembers Abraham above all through one word, one Hebrew word, chesed, chesed, which is often translated loving kindness. Loving kindness. Genesis portrays him constantly welcoming strangers. The rabbis magnify this into legendary hospitality. The Mishnah teaches,
"Let your house be wide open, and let the poor be members of your household."
Later Jewish tradition sees Abraham as its living embodiment. Genesis 18 describes 3 mysterious visitors approaching. Despite being elderly and recovering from circumcision, according to rabbinic tradition, Abraham rushes toward them. He prepares bread, milk, curds, and a calf. Ancient hospitality becomes sacred service, and the rabbis conclude that welcoming guests is greater than receiving the divine presence itself. No episode defines Abraham more than the so-called Akedah, the Akedah, which means the binding. Genesis 22 begins like this.
"Take your son, your favored one, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering, on one of the heights that I will point out to you."
The story has troubled readers for millennia. Did God really command child sacrifice? Most Jewish interpreters answer no. The point is, in fact, the opposite. Abraham reaches the limit. The knife is stopped. Human sacrifice ends. Life is affirmed. The ram replaces the child. Many rabbis also see Isaac as willingly participating. This transforms the Akedah into a story not just of obedience, but of mutual trust. Every Rosh Hashanah, Jewish communities read this chapter, not because sacrifice is celebrated, but because mercy triumphs. Suppose tomorrow archaeologists discover something. A seal reading, "Abraham, son of Terah." Would Judaism suddenly become true? Well, of course not. Likewise, think about this. Suppose no such evidence is ever found. Would Abraham disappear? Would he vanish? Again, no. Because Abraham lives in something archaeology cannot excavate: memory. And beyond memory, practice. And something we call ethics, not to mention identity. For over 3,000 years, Jewish parents have told their children, be like Abraham. Welcome strangers. Seek justice. Question idols. Trust God. Bless the nations. That legacy has shaped civilization, regardless of what future excavations uncover. One overlooked detail reveals Abraham's extraordinary character. In Genesis 18, Abraham argues with God over Sodom. Imagine that. The founder of biblical faith debates the Creator.
Far be it from you to do such a thing, to bring death upon the innocent as well as the guilty, so that innocent and guilty fare alike. Far be it from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth deal justly?
Abraham doesn't passively accept destruction. No, he pleads for mercy. 50 righteous, just 50 righteous. How about 45? 40? 30? 20? 10? This becomes one of Judaism's defining values. Faith isn't silent obedience. Faith can ask difficult questions. The rabbis admired this deeply. Indeed, Israel itself means one who wrestles with God. Yisrael, one who wrestles with God. So perhaps Abraham began that tradition. Now, maybe in the final analysis, we're asking the wrong question. Instead of asking, did Abraham exist? Perhaps Judaism asks something else. Can Abraham exist again? That's a different question. Because every generation faces its own idols. Power, wealth, violence, certainty. Abraham reminds us to walk away from all of them. The Hebrew command, Lech Lecha, literally means go yourself. Or perhaps we can render it a little bit differently. Go to yourself. Lech Lecha. Go to yourself. Leave behind what enslaves you. Become who God intended you to be. So, was Abraham historical? Possibly. Many scholars believe the patriarchal traditions preserve authentic memories of Middle Bronze Age life, while others remain unconvinced. The evidence allows neither certainty nor dismissal. But Abraham's influence is beyond dispute. He transformed how billions imagine God. He became Judaism's model of hospitality, courage, faith, justice, and moral responsibility. Whether walking the hills of ancient Canaan 4,000 years ago or walking beside every generation since, Abraham continues calling humanity toward something higher. And maybe that's why Jews still begin many prayers by invoking Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Ve'Elohei Yaakov, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Not just because Abraham may have lived, but because the journey he began has never truly ended. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this exploration of the Bible, archaeology, and Jewish tradition, well, subscribe to Jews, God, and History, and let me know in the comments, what do you think is Abraham's greatest legacy? His possible historical life, or the enduring ideals that bear his name?